Okay.
Just so you know, you're going to be at the back here, so she's going to hear all the chitter chatter.
Hello.
Okay, so I want to make sure she can hear Ian.
There will be no chitter chatter. So there will be no chitter chatter for Easter here because there will be no chitter chatter. No, there will be attentive songwriting faces turned towards me, wrapped with attention. First thing I'd like to do is put something to the vote because I want this to be the way you guys want it to be. When I thought of doing this course, I thought initially it'd be really good to get all the songs and move them around every week so everybody had a finger in every pie, which was my first thought. But I'm not sure how it's working out. I think, for instance, Liv was feeling a bit attached to her song and didn't really like it when someone else got it and somebody else started changing it. And I suspect Amy may be also in that camp as well, the boy next door. Would you prefer we keep rotating them? Because the idea was just to have ones to work on, and then you'd write your own as well. So I didn't want you to get too attached to the first ones. They were just maybe experiments. But having done it, I'm like, I'm not even sure this is the best way to do it. Would you prefer the people who came up with seeds, got their seeds back to write the actual lyric? Or were you happy just kind of, it all be a free for all on those ones? And
I like to think we helped each other.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
at this stage,
yeah.
do you want your seeds back, or are you just happy for these experimental songs to keep rotating? I don't have a strong feeling either way. As I say, I may not be right about the way I thought about it. I was just like last week, I was kind of going, again, a couple of little moments of thinking, people are going, what you're doing to my song, you know, which I wasn't anticipating. So who wants to return the example songs to the person who thought of the seed?
Oh no, what if we like, I really
Okay.
I really liked how it went when I started the seed expansion on the one that wasn't my
Okay,
song.
great. In which case we'll stick with that then. That seems to be a
Or we
yeah.
could even maybe just theirs, just give them theirs. Or...
No, if everyone seems happy, I just wanted to give you the option. Just last week I went home and I was going, I think we may have a couple of slightly disgruntled songwriters going, what has happened to my song? You know, so
Did you want yours back though? I don't.
okay.
But you raised your hand. But you raised your hand. Do you want that one? I don't really care.
Okay. And as I say, one thing you can do, don't forget, is that these are just examples for this class. If you had, I'm just using you as an example, it may or may not, but if you were thinking like, you know, the boy next door, I had a real feeling about how that was going to go, and that's not how test version goes. You can just go away and write it yourself. Like you can go back to the seed stage and work through the whole thing again and write it yourself. Then we can have two songs with the boy next door. Or you know, just because we're using it as an example doesn't mean that it's been taken away from you forever. You can't use that idea. It's just, I just wanted to kind of have a ball to kick around in class. Okay, so everyone seems happy with that. Last thing we did was we looked at the verses and how the verses are more concrete, less abstract, and so the verses should have physical attributes based on your senses. And we handed out the paper which had got the 7 sensory prompts to sort of say, you know, what could sights, smells, sounds, textures, physical sensations of that environment. So that's where you've got to. Next thing I'd like you to do, I'm not going to be able to do this today, but the next stage would be to come up with a rough prose draft. I am a pun.
No, just your eyes are.
So you guys will have focus. Don't get old, folks. It's today's takeaway. Don't get old. So first thing to do, rough prose draft. Draw from your idea expansion, words and phrases. Draw from your additional rhyme list and your summary sentences from choruses. So you've now got an idea of what goes on in the song, and turn that into a slightly expanded prose version. Now, we're not looking for rhyme or rhythm for this draft. If you have some bits that naturally start to feel like they've got a beat to them or start to rhyme, that's fine. Don't cut that off. Just they can start to emerge. But what we're looking for is actually just a description of what's happening. So, first one, there's a guy sitting by the highway. It's raining. He feels sad. He's trying to find a that's what we need. It's a description, it's prose description of what's going on. You know, chorus, he hopes that someone picks him up, he's trying to get home, whatever. Just describe it in those terms. Don't worry about making it high. Don't worry about anything other than getting the meaning of the action. It's that prose version. Using your summary sentences, using your idea expansion phrases. So some rhymes may sneak in. That's fine. That would be the next thing. You want to map out how each section closes, even if the middle bit's a bit vague. So my hitchhiker story, it can start off, I can say, starts off with him on the side of the road, it's raining, he hopes to get some lift. The end verse is a car pulls over. Now, what happens in between there, how many lines that takes, I'm still a bit vague about. But I know how the verse starts, how the verse ends, and how that gets him into the chorus. Of course, philosophical thing, I hope this person is going to me, I need to get out. But you need to know the top and tail of the action. You're not quite sure what's going on. So that's the first thing to do, is do the rough.
Okay, so inside.
Once you've done the rough draft,
Hello, people. Yes.
today's myself, which is to make two decisions. The last thing we're
Are you
going
on what side? The
to probably feeling quite happy
Oh, I love it. I really do.
theoretical. When are we going to be allowed to do something?
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Just so I'm paying catch up a little bit. The rough draft that you're referencing is the rough draft of like a verse, or the rough draft of the song?
The whole song.
The whole song. Okay.
So you should be saying, first one, guy by the side of the road, it's raining, he did a car pulls up.
Okay.
Chorus, he hopes that this person is going the same way as
Okay.
he's going, he needs to get back home. Verse number 2, gets in the car, the person said whatever it is, you know,
Right,
and
okay.
then
So rough
bridge,
draft of the whole song.
yeah, but rough draft of the whole song in prose, don't worry about rhyming, don't worry about
Okay.
beats, just so you know what the story is in some detail.
Okay.
And start making notes there, introducing the sensory stuff, so you can say, you know, the sound of the windscreen wipers pushing the rain away echoes in his ears, or whatever it is, you know, that start introducing the sensory stuff there, as much information as you can get while it not still being a song. Because the next stage is you're then going to turn that into a song. So you go for a prose draft, get your story down. Now we have to make a couple of decisions on structure. We're going to decide on the number of lines that each section has, and then decide on the line scheme. And this is what's going to turn what so far has been a collection of ideas into a song. The point of this way of thinking about it is that when you come to write the song, which is when you come to sit down to write the song, you've already done all the homework, you've already got all the decision making out of the way. All you have to do is make it fit to a rhythm and make it rhyme, which is going to be hard enough without you thinking, what's going to happen? What is this bit about? Why is this the chorus? Is this the chorus or the verse? I think when we did the summer camp songwriting thing, I can't remember who it was, but at some point somebody was like, oh, I wrote this and it was the verse, but I think now it's the chorus. Yeah, it was, yeah. And you're just like, okay, but the verse and the chorus are totally different jobs. And you now, if you take something as a verse and make it a chorus, you've now got a really wordy chorus that no one's going to sing along to. because the chorus is the bit that you want people to sing along to. If you've got reverse structure and you expect people to sing along to that, they're not going to, because it's not a chorus. You've got to be aware of what jobs they do. So what we're trying to do is just make decisions ahead of time. So when you sit down and try and get it to rhyme, and get it to fit into a rhythm, your job's really easy. So you've done all the hard work. So this is the point of the exercise. Well, that's what you've been sort of doing for the last 5 weeks, and we've been building up to this. And hopefully by the end of the day, I'll give you lots of worksheets and send you off into the world like kicking fledglings out of a nest.
No.
Okay, off you go, you know, and hopefully flapping your wings at work, which he tends to do, you know. So, deciding on a structure for your sections is very important because you need the sections to match each other. This may seem obvious, but this is going to trip you up. All your different verses should have the same rhythm, they should be the same length, they should have the same rhyme scheme, because we're going to be putting them to music, and ultimately someone is going to be singing them. So they need to follow a consistent structure. If your verse 1 has got 6 lines, your verse 2 has got 4 lines, and your verse 1 has got 5 beats in the line, and verse 2 has got 6 beats in the line, they're not going to fit to the same tune. And if they don't fit to the same tune, it's not a song. So this is where we're going to decide those things, because this is where we're going to take the story and make it fit the structure, because then we're going to get caught in tunes. And if they don't fit, we've done something wrong with the lyrics there. So this is where we're going to do that. Unless you have a clearly defined structure, as I said here, putting melodies to your words is going to be very difficult. The same bit of music needs to work for all the verses, even though the words are different. The structure of each verse has to be the same, but not the same music will work. So by the end of the session, we're going to answer the following questions for your songs. How many lines are there going to be? Is there a rhyme scheme? If so, what is the rhyme scheme? So, how many lines is probably easiest to answer? Remember, people think in sentences or groups of sentences. So each part of your song is the equivalent of a paragraph and should express one idea, one group of ideas, one type of idea. It's just like a story. The only difference is these paragraphs have to be the same length, the same piece. The first one should be about. You're probably going to be presenting your ideas in pairs. Most songs are going to have pairs of lines. So, as well as your paragraph being about something, pairs of lines are going to be related in some way. Very obvious, but point that needs making. These words have to be sung. So those of us who aren't singers, like me, can quite happily write mad free-form poetry that looks great on the page and give it to Amy and go, Amy, can you sing this? And you go, no, there's way too many words in it. There's no room to have a breath. I can't even get through that. You know, there's no room to put a high note in. You've got to remember these are designed to be sung. So what you should do is you should read them aloud to yourself. You know, don't read them aloud. Have breaths and think, okay, is there room here for the singer to go next line? Because if you write something that doesn't have any spaces in it, or spaces for breaths, it's not going to be a song. And those spaces need to come at the same place in every verse again. So you need a structure. You need to know that the singer is going to be able to get from line 2, and then there's an end of a thought, an end of an idea that will enable them to have a thought before they go on to the next one. So we're writing the lyrics first on this course, just because that's what this course is not the only way to write a song. If you write the music first, which you might do, or if you're writing lyrics to a piece of music someone else has already composed, which is a possibility, you go, I write lyrics, you could be in a band, as well as go, I've got this guitar piece. Can you write some lyrics to it? In that situation, you're not going to get any choice. You've got to work to the number of lines and the line length that's already been decided for you. So this is not always going to be that easy. This may seem easy. I'm going to go decide on a number of lines. You know, that's easy, but it might not be easy because the guitarist in your band might put this little bit of finger picking instrumentals. Then go, can you think of some words for it? We're going to have to go, okay, I've got that much space and I need to have 3 lines in every verse because that's how long its piece is. So this might not always be as easy as it's going to seem today. But today it's going to be easy because you get to decide because we don't know who's first. Line numbers. Even numbers of lines are stable. Odd numbers of lines are unstable. So we like getting musical ideas in pairs. So if you're depicting a stable, unchanging, or a happy situation, you should probably use pairs of lines because that's a nice, solid, rhythmic foundation. Everybody knows. No surprises, stable, ends where you think it's going to end. Probably best for stable situations. Odd numbers of lines are going to create a bit of uncertainty. They're going to make the listener feel anxious, suspenseful, unsettled, or not know what's coming. You're like, okay, I wasn't anticipating that. That's not where I thought this was going. So odd numbers of lines are a perfectly valid songwriting tool. I'd say I'm not going to answer that question. They're best for creating uncertainty, suspense, and the sense that you don't know what's going to happen next. So if your chorus is about that, they would be ideal. If your verse is about that, they would be ideal. If both your verse and chorus are about stable and changing situations or happy, contented situations, probably don't use odd numbers of lines because you're going to have the mode of delivery and the lyrical content aren't going to match. This is called prosody. I wasn't even. We've drifted into lit class. Wasn't going to get there. Prosody. Prosody is the art of making music match the meaning of the lyrics. So when we start doing music, we've got lyrics. We are going to be paying attention to this because if I go, I have a lyric about a bunny rabbit. He lives in the field. He has lots of lettuce. He's very happy. And then Kayan goes, I have written a minor key thrash metal speed thing with lots of angular chord changes. I'm going to go, this is not reflecting my story about my happy bunny rabbit. You know, the idea is that your music should reflect what the words are about.
I like that word.
That was a glimpse of about 3 weeks hence. Talking about how it came up. So yes, you can use odd number of lines to create uncertainty. You can also use an odd number of lines as a spotlight. So if the listener anticipates it's going to be a 4-line verse and you've got a point to make, a twist, you know, like a soap opera twist, but you know, they weren't dead after all, you know, whatever, you know, you end the episode twist. You can put that on an odd line because the fact that it's not expected will musically mirror. So, Kayan, your alligator in the parking lot can attack somebody on an odd line.
With a rabbit.
That would be ideal. You know, sort of, you know, and they were happily walking along, even. Then they got eaten by an alligator. That would come on an odd numbered line because that's going to be a shock. So that kind of thing. Odd lines, even lines. So worth thinking about. Idea number 2. Every verse should have the same number of lines, unless you have a really good reason to. And your really good reason might be at the end of the second verse, I want the shock moment. So your second verse would then have an extra line because that's going to be a shot. That's a specific narrative reason. If you don't have a really good reason, if verse one's got 4 lines, verse two could have 4 lines, verse three could have 4 lines. Unless you're deliberately going for something that's designed to settle them properly. So verses should all have the same. There are songs that will have a very long first verse and then the second verse will be half the length. That's a good way of getting to the chorus quicker. So that's one exception I will make. First one setting the scene, chorus, verse 2, we do the same sequence of chords, but just do it once. It just gets into the chorus quicker. The song speeds up rather than flying with the event. So that's quite a good trick if you're worried that your song is not interesting enough. If someone, you know, it's like I've got 8 lines in the first verse, 8 lines in the second verse. It's just going to try and people's patience to get the chorus quicker. You can't just have that half verse. But apart from that, try and keep them.
Like in tomorrow.
Sorry? For Manny, yeah. Does that go in?
You have a verse that she should know.
But is the second verse shorter than the first verse? I don't know. Long time since I've seen that. We're getting a no. We're getting a no from there.
Okay.
Oh, incidentally, somebody was totally off topic, but somebody was when we sent around the request for the theatre numbers, and it was something with it was all the songs and then the shows they came from, and Annie was next to Annie Get Your Gun, which immediately sounded like a really dark sequel to Annie.
Oh, I've been in Annie Get Your Gun. There's nothing to do with it.
No, I know, but
The
just seeing
title.
them next to each other on the list, I was like, oh wow, that's like Annie too.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not
Annie
gonna-
2,
I mean,
the,
I
really,
was 8.
the
but
bleak one. Yeah,
That's what I mean.
yeah. So Annie 3, Hide the Bodies. So yes, it's probably easiest to get one example of a section to work and then write the remaining examples to fit that. So rather than trying to drive all your sheep at the same time, get verse 1 settled and then go, okay, verse 2, verse 3 are going to fit that structure. If you're working on multiple verses at the same time, you can do it, but there's just more uncertainty along now. Starting to, you know, so get one verse how you like it, and then that's the format for the other verses. So line length templates might be something like a verse has 4 lines, a chorus has 4 lines, the bridge has 2 lines. That's a pretty stable template. If you want an unstable template, you can have the verse has 5 lines, chorus has 4 lines, which has 2 lines. You know, this is the decision you're gonna make at this stage. And I've just got a note here to say that writing to a form like this, you may think this is constricting, this is, you know, crushing my creativity, but actually this is it. This is well, liberating, but also this is the fun bit, is that if you could do whatever you wanted, there's no challenge. This is where your crossword brain comes in. You're like, okay, well, I've got to get this verse into 4 lines now. How am I going to do that? So this is where the kind of problem solving element.
Can I ask a question?
Of course, please.
Okay, so one of the songs that I wrote.
Yeah.
I have 8 lines, but like my 9th line and what I wanted to end. This is for the New Day song, but
Yeah.
this is like what I wanted to end every verse was today is going to be a great day, and I
Yeah.
wanted to do the verse, and then today is going to be a great day, and then it would go into my chorus each
Yeah.
time. Should I just move that?
That's
My 9th
that's
line.
8 lines and then 9th line,
The 9th line is today is going to be a great day.
and it's the same every time.
The same every time.
In which case, what you are describing is what is technically known as a refrain, and there was going to be something I would feature in the advanced songwriting version of this course. If anyone wants to come back and do an advanced songwriting version of this book,
Okay.
which would be totally awesome. Instead of having a chorus, an old ballad form is just have the last line of the verse be a repeated point. You think about Tangled Up in Blue by Bob Dylan, which doesn't have a chorus, but at the end of each verse, he says something, 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 tangled up in blue. That's always the last bit of the verse, and that gives you structure. It's a ballad structure, it's not a pop song structure.
Okay.
It's a very good structure. I just wanted to keep it simple and not get too complicated on
Okay.
the first one. But yes, perfectly good. 8 lines, ballad refrain, and then you can have a chorus. Wonderful.
Okay.
I like it. Nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
Or if you don't have a chorus, that can be your chorus.
Well, I have a chorus.
In which case,
And
it's
that
a,
one, instead of it ending with today is going to be a great day, like all the verses, then it ends with today is.
excellent. No, nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
It's a ballad structure, hundreds of years old. Loads of songs do that.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, if you're going to do that, verse 3 has to do that as well. You can't go verse 3 is not good.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I want them all to do that.
If you're going down that route, then
Okay.
you've got to go down that route, because otherwise, unless you've got a really good reason not to.
No, I don't.
No, which getting back to Kian's parking lot alligator incident.
Yeah. Okay.
You may not have today's going to be a great day at the end of verse number 2 if that's when the gate comes out of the shadows, you know. But unless you've got a good reason, then that's great. Okay, so that's line numbers. Write a verse, see how many lines it's got, get it so you're happy with it, and then just take that template onto all your others. Rhyme schemes. Oh, it's turning a little bit class. Look at all you people that sign up for songwriting courses. It's a high school. I'm sorry about that. Okay, do lyrics need to rhyme? No, they don't. There's lots of really good songs that don't rhyme. Do all your lyrics need to rhyme? No, you can have verses that don't rhyme and choruses that do rhyme. The answer I'm going to say is usually. Usually things rhyme. Most songs rhyme. Some don't, and if you've got a really good reason not to, that's great. Most songs rhyme because rhyming makes lyrics easy to remember. As we all know, like you can, you remember the colours of the rainbow as a kid with a rhyme, you any of these things, you've got these kind of little rhymes to remember. So rhyming is memorable. Rhyming provides a sense of structure. If you get to the end of every second line and it rhymes with something you've heard already, your brain subconsciously is going to think that there's a structure, there's a pattern in there, like patterns, especially music. Patterns. And rhyming can be used to set up a sense of expectation and surprise. So you can, if you want to get really tricksy, have a load of lines that rhyme, and then the last one not rhyme. If you want to really spot one, that's probably an advanced technique. But you can use this to pull the carpet out from the people.
So we do if we create a chorus to make it really catchy and have it rhyme, and then our verses don't rhyme, is that okay too?
Absolutely, yeah. And probably that's a good way to do it because your chorus needs to be catchy and sum up the song. So having something, if you're going to have something rhyme, the chorus were the place to do it. Then the bridge, then the verse, in that order. Having rhyming verses and then the chorus that doesn't rhyme is just going to upset people. To some extent, we're trying to write popular music. Popular music is popular because people like to listen to it. Yes, you can go, I'm going full on art house and I care not a job what the world thinks. I just want to do exactly what is my vision. And of course, that's great. I've done that songs. But it's great fun to do. But if you want to go, I want people to listen to on the radio. I want my friends and relations to clap when they're finished and not out of sympathy. Then, there are conventions to this. It is what music rhyming is a convention. If you are going to abandon rhyme, verses, or even in the bridge. Maybe the bridge doesn't have to rhyme, but your chorus is probably shit. Although rhyming would still count as just repeating the same line. That kind of rhymes. You know, if your chorus is 4 lines and it's just the title 4 times. Or, oh, not put the swear jar out. Okay, everyone remember, I owe $1 to the jar. If you think about Let It Be, the chorus is let it be, whisper words of wisdom, let it be. And then the next chorus is let it be, let it be, then we'll get that, let it be. So you've got a rhyming structure there. You've got 3 lines that rhyme and 1 line that doesn't. Now, the 3 lines that rhyme are all the same. So you can do that. But actually, technically, that's still a rhyme scheme. It's just rhyming something with itself.
You can use the same word.
If you're going to use the same word, you should use the same complete phrase. Because if you just use this, if you rhyme the same, if you rhyme a word with itself, not as part of a phrase, it just looks like you don't know what to do. I really hate that. It's one of those things that you go, I woke up in the morning, it was a brand new day, and I thought I'm going to go downtown and have a great day. And you go, okay, yes, you've got day and day, but that just looks like you couldn't think of a word to write. Yeah. Whereas if you do what you did and repeat the exact phrase, then it becomes a refrain, rather than just writing the word itself. So there are gradations of this. Good. So,
No, I got gradations.
Oh,
that's supposed to.
Big.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, that's
So
an internal. That's an internal rhyme. That's again. That's next year. There are lots of different types of rhyme, and we are not going to look at more. We'll be relieved to know. We're going to look at the 2 that are probably most useful for writing songs. Yeah.
you're saying the line, did you say that the lines in the chorus should be the same amount of lines in the verse?
No.
Doesn't matter.
No, the lines in the choruses should be the same amount of lines as the lines of the other choruses. And the lines of the verses should be the same amount of lines as the verses.
Okay.
But your verse can be 8 lines and your chorus can be 2 lines. There's no sort of, I can't think of any advantage to doing that. And possibly, I haven't really banged this drum so far this course, but we will be banging this drum a lot when we get into writing music, is ultimately variety. Variety is what you want. The worst thing you can do in pop music is bore people. Like, people have very short attention spans, and you've got 3 minutes to make the point. You don't want to bore people. If your verse and your chorus and your bridge are all the same length, that's monotony. If you go longer verses, shorter choruses, or whatever, it just something different is happening. You want, I can't remember who said it, but possibly Mutt Langer, who produced Def Leppard. Possibly, I'm not sure, but there's a quote somewhere about something different should happen every 20 seconds. Like if you're making a pop song, something should happen every 20 seconds. If you leave it 25 seconds, people are going to go reach for the time. It's short attention span. These things are going to be 3-4 minutes tops, unless you're getting into like nice. Because I love that stuff. But if you're trying to get on the radio, you know, you want something different to be happening. So if your verse is going to be one thing, yes, probably make your chorus something else. Just try and introduce some sort of variety. Okay, types of rhyme. Perfect rhyme. Perfect rhyme is also called exact rhyme, full rhyme, or true rhyme. This is what most people think of when they think about rhyming. We have some rules for perfect rhyme. If anyone wants to make a note of these. Perfect rhymes are where the final vowel sound is the same. The consonant sounds after the final vowels are the same, or there are no consonant sounds after the final vowel. everyone lost the will to live by now.
No constant, what, after the final
So-
vowel?
Final vowel sounds are the same.
Got that.
Consonant sounds after the final vowel are the same. Or there just isn't a consonant sound after the final vowel. So if consonant sounds are the same, you get soap and rope, or car, bar, guitar. You get the vowel sound is the same, R, and then the consonant sound after that is the same, it's an R. So A, R, car, bar, guitar. Perfect line. Or you just don't have a consonant sound after the vowel at all. So snow, go, true, blue, shoe. The vowel sound is the same, there just isn't a consonant. So those are perfect lines. Notice that the spelling of a word has nothing to do with how it rhymes. It's to do with sound. Yes.
I can't
For those
stop.
of you who don't like spelling or don't find spelling easy, spelling has nothing to do with rhyme. It's all to do with sound. So, is this a perfect rhyme? Soap and rope. Yes. Vowel sound, final vowel sound is the same. Could be a longer word. You could have more word here. You know, these are long words, but your final vowel sound is the same. And
That's not the final vowel. Oh, so,
it's a vowel sound.
oh, sound.
There's
Okay.
no.
Okay.
If you're pronouncing it rope,
Okay. No,
you would be absolutely correct.
I was looking at the A's. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I got you. Sound, the sound. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, it's nothing to do with spelling. It's the
Right,
sound.
okay.
That's so and rope. So vowel sound is the same. Consonant is the same. Or I'm going to let you have row. Row your boat. You've just got no final consonant sound. So row and hope will work.
How about like the Sydney Water? Isn't she lovely? Isn't she wonderful? Who's that? Lovely, wonderful.
No, they just don't work.
They just weren't.
No, they just don't work. He's allowed to do his steam. How's the rest of that
Are
go?
you gonna say that about us? If it's fast?
Oh yeah. Depends. If you write superstition, yes.
Starstruck.
If you guys write superstition, I will say anything about it. Okay. Da, 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 da. Perfect rhyme is the strongest type of rhyme there is. The sounds of the words are identical. They create a perfect resolution for the ear. They're incredibly stable. They create a high expectation that more of them will follow. So if you start using perfect rhyme, your listener is going to anticipate you're going to do more. So they're stable, they're powerful, they create expectation, they are great for choruses, they are great for bridges. Choruses and bridges should probably, and again, always remember these are all guidelines. There are many, many successful songs that break these guidelines, but in general, choruses and bridges should have perfect rhymes. And you can find them in online private dictionaries. There you go. That's your choruses and your bridges. The next thing we're going to talk about is assonance. I'm sure you've all heard technical definitions of assonance and related ideas to assonance in literature classes. We're not really going to get into that here because it's actually really complicated. As we'll come back and do advanced songwriting, I will have to talk about it all night, but we're not going to talk about it right now. We're going to go for a simplified working definition of assonance, just something that will enable you to use it. The final vowel sounds are the same, and the consonant sounds after the final vowel are different. So this is going to give you. Just put a few up. Came up with. Dash, fast, relax. Same vowel sound, final vowel sound, different consonant sound. Is it going to work in a song? Absolutely. But it's not a perfect rhyme, it's assonance. The reason this is going to work in a song is because, Amy, you're probably our most experienced singer here, I would imagine. As you know, when you sing, you only sing vowels. You don't sing consonants. Consonants are just little sounds that come between the vowels. So when you sing a tune, the notes happen on vowel sounds, and then the consonant is just what causes the note to end. So if you sing a song that goes dash, fast, and relax, what people are going to hear is ah, ah, ah on the note, and then the t and x is just the thing that shuts the note off. You can't sing consonants. Am I right? So I'm not picking on you, but you're like, you know, you're the singer, so I'm deferring to you. Sing the word dash. Just give me a note.
Liv can sing it. She's moving. Yeah.
Just- Come on, give me that. I told you singing all last night. Or relax or fast. Yeah?
I don't know.
It's gonna be
I
like, you know,
need a key.
Just sing like C.
dash. It's gonna dash, isn't it? It's dash. Yeah. What you hear is the vowel. The consonant is just the sound of the vowel stopping. Thank you. I won't ask you to do that again.
That was very brave.
So like Barbara Streisand, like people.
Yeah.
Pull. They say the E just because they always, you know, they have don't pop your feet, but you want to hit it, or with a
Yeah.
T at the end, that in the opera, they always hit that.
Yeah.
You're right.
But it doesn't. You don't sing it. You can't sing it. It's a sound in the mouth. It's not a note. You can't sustain a note on T.
Oh, I see. Something that sustains is what you.
Yeah. Imagine a hi hat opening and closing. The hi hat is shh, and then the consonant is a ch. It just cuts the note off. It's not something sustained. So this is assonance. It's going to work. So. Light, time, mind, shine. Can you finish your verse like that? Absolutely, you can. Yes. Yes. Da da da, something light, da da, something time, da da, something mind, da da, it's my chance to shine. Whatever. That's going to work. It doesn't matter. With these are different. So there you go. Don't make any further notes. Oh yeah. Pass and laugh. Anyone? It looks really unlikely, doesn't it? It looks really unlikely, but I will wait for my troubles to pass. I will look back on this one day and laugh. Absolutely, this will work. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
This is helping me a lot with a lot of my songs.
Yeah.
I started.
Now the point about assonance is that if you start using this, your options are really greatly increased. there's a lot more words that do this than there are words that rhyme. So your choice of endings is greatly increased. The other advantage is you're not going to sound as forced. If you only use perfect rhyme, you're going to end up having to end your lines with things that sound like you only said that because it rhymes. And we don't want to do that. We want to sound conversational. We want to sound real. So if I gave you a rhyming dictionary and said, we're writing a song called I Believe, do your extra rhymes exercise that I gave you. Go away and find some rhymes that you might use. You're going to come back and you're going to go Eve, leave, sleeve, thieve, and I have the big capital letters here. The problem is, of course, no one talks like that. Like, okay, I believe that it is wrong from people to thieve. I mean, it's just nobody talks like that. But if you're stuck on perfect rhyme, those are your options. But if you get assonance, then you can have brief, leaf, grief, relief, breeze, keys, guarantees. I believe there are no guarantees. You can sing that. That's going to work. Believe, guarantees, assonance is get you through. So songwriting is not like poetry. Writing lyrics is not like poetry. This doesn't have to be perfect rhyme. This is assonance. So I'd say assonance is really good for verses because it gives you far more options, but it's slightly less stable. So probably when you're writing your songs as a starting point, assonance for your verses, perfect rhyme for your chorus and bridge. And that's going to give you variety. It's going to give you a wider range of words you can use in your verses, and the perfect rhyme is going to give your choruses more of a sense of weight, finality, summing up, importance. Kind of thing. Oh, okay. I thought that the hand was going. Right. Anyone know how to analyze a rhyme scheme?
Like A, B, A, B.
Exactly. Again. Anyone else seen that where you put A's and B's at the end of lines? Yeah. So something nursery rhyme. Sorry? Twinkle. Star. How I wonder.
I wonder.
Where you were or how you were.
Oh. Yeah.
What's the
I. Like down in the sky. Okay, so the first line.
Oh, I have a whole bunch of them.
Can I have a
After
different
we
color?
had classes.
Can I have a
After
different
we were
color?
working, it was writing that.
Lovely. Some sort of
How about blue?
blue. Perfect. Okay, guys. So your first line is going to get an A. Star. Yeah. How I wonder where you are rhymes with star. So that. Yes, another A. Therefore, the world's so high. That's our next rhyme. That's B. B. So our rhyme scheme here is A, B, B. If you have a line that doesn't rhyme, it gets next. Odd one out gets next. So Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder where you are, up above the world so high, like a diamond up above. Probably not what you're going to go for with your chorus, because disappointment, sense of expectation, you know, all that. But how you're going to, and say this then, this becomes AAXX.
So that changes.
Oh yeah, because it's not to write.
Yeah. So what you can do is
So it's like a diamond up afar, would that be an 8?
like diamond up a, oh yes, excellent. Excellent, Daniel. Diamond. Oh, yeah. So twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder where you are, up above the world so high, like a diamond seen afar, is going to be AAXA. So you need to think about this, because you need to know what your rhyme scheme is, so that your other verses or choruses can follow it. So whatever it is you come up with, it doesn't really matter. But you have to then analyze it before you move on to the rest of the song. So get your first verse, your first chorus, whatever it is. Get it so you like it. But then when you're doing the analogous other sections that match, make sure you've thought about this.
And is this for choruses or verses?
So for everything. It's for
Okay.
everything. Your verses have to have a scheme, your choruses have to have a scheme. They shouldn't necessarily have the same scheme, but you should know what the scheme is and be able to analyze it, because then when you write your second verse, you don't need your second verse to be A, B, A, B. If your first verse is A, A, X, A, they should match. So think about the structure of the rhyme scheme. Do it. Okay, we're gliding in, bang on time. Don't know if I'm getting better time in these, but Jenny's all happy. She's like, can I go home? Right, I'm going to send you out into the world. I have to throw you from the nest. This, what I'm going to give you, and these I'll give you tomorrow, your guitar lesson. These are the 4 sheets you have seen so far. No, I want you to keep them in the order I handed them to you. These are the 4 sheets you've seen so far. I just want to remind you all where we should be,
We didn't
because
see this one.
Can we do it?
no, that's the one you sing today.
Okay.
So that is August 5th.
Okay, let's just remind ourselves what we've done, because it's been a long 5 weeks. Bear in mind, when you're actually really writing songs, it's not going to take you 5 weeks. It's taking 5 weeks to get this far, because you can do this in a day, or a weekend, a couple of days, in a week. So don't be going, it's going to take 5 weeks to write everything that we have to make the system. First thing we did was come up with a list of lyrical seeds, good ideas for songs. Then we chose one that we thought could be developed further. We made a note of why we thought it could develop further, because otherwise we forget. You know. Then we got that and we expanded on it by coming up with a list of related ideas, things that that lyrical seed brought to mind. And at the end of that process, we wrote down a clear central sentence that said, this is what I think this song is about. Now remember, what it's about is not what happens. What it's about is the triumph of true love. What happens is people face adversity with empathy action. Now we're making note of what the song's about. And that's really important, because if you don't know what the song's about, you can't really write the song. Next thing we did was we took the chosen seed and we asked the 6 W questions. Who, what, where, when, how, and why, to get us more of a sense of the plot. And then we wrote out summary sentences for each of the verses, choruses, and bridges, explaining very briefly what that, and again, we're talking about, not action, we're not talking plot here, what that section is about. So the first verse is, person feels lost and alone. The second verse is they go in search of an answer, and the third verse is they find the answer and that leads them to happiness. But this is to do with what the message of your song is, not the content of the song. And then last week we got on to worksheet number 3. This is where I start making some final decisions. We need to know the perspective that the song is from. So is it first person, second person, or third person? Are we saying I did this? Are we saying you did this? Or are we saying the character did this? So you've got to make that decision. Now bear in mind, you don't have to have the same thing all the way through the song. Your verses can be third person and your choruses could be potentially first person, because you could say, there's a guy who did this thing, this is what happened to him, and then your chorus could be, I knew that guy, I'm glad it wasn't me. You know, I'm glad that what happened to him didn't happen to me, whatever. So you can mix those, but you just have to know what they are. Then we ask the W questions for each of the song sections, like verse number 1. Who is it about? Where is it? When is it happening? You get a sense of the actual plot, the mechanics of the plot. Once we've done that, we start to come up with the sensory markers. What, okay, if they're in a diner, what does it sound like? What does it smell like? How do the tables feel? Is it hot or cold? All those kind of things. Because those are going to be really useful for your verses, because they're going to give you a way to get a sense of place and make it feel more realistic. Verses are concrete. You want detail. Your choruses are abstract and philosophical. And then, as we discussed at the start of this lesson, you then write out a rough draft. So the rough draft is prose. It's what happens in the plot. It's not the song. It's like the first draft of your lyric. It's just a prose draft. I have now produced a final preparation checklist, just to make sure you know you're ready before you go through it. So, literally just check off. Before you get started, did I do my lyrical C's? Yes. Which C did I choose? Did I decide when it got development potential? Yes. Did I do the idea expansion? I did. Did I come up with a clear thin sentence? Write it out again, just because it's good to keep reminding yourself what that is. Did I come up with a bunch of additional rhymes? Yes. Did I do all the things we've just talked about, the W questions, the section summaries? Have I done all of that? If you can check all those off, it's just a reminder, really. You go, oh, I didn't do the additional rhymes. I have no additional rhymes for this. I'm going to go back and do some. Then you've got to make a decision. Number 4, verse. How many lines does my verse have? What's the rhyme scheme of my verse? So it's my verse, 4 lines, A, B, A, B. Good way to do a verse. What's my chorus? What's my bridge? What is the structure? When you've got all these bits of paper filled in, you are as ready as I can make you. There's nothing else I can tell you. You should have a list of images that are going to go in your song. You should have a list of rhymes that are going to go into your song. You should have a map of how many verses you've got. You should know what those verses are about. You should know what happens in them and what physical things you can use to describe them. And when you've got all those bits of paper spread out on the table, you then get a fresh bit of paper and you write verse 1, underline it, and you start writing the song. And there should be no surprises at this point. You should not be staring out the window, sucking the end of your pencil and thinking, if only inspiration would strike. We have circumvented inspiration completely. We have no use for inspiration. We have got the plan. Live.
For this checklist thing, can we do songs that nobody else in the class knows that they're in, you're thinking about? about them, or would I have to do like strawberry sunburns or whatever?
No, what I'd like to say is go away and start writing the song that you've got, the group song, just so we're using those as an exercise, and then we can bring those in and look at them. But this should be just for like all your songs. Now, these are a set of ploys and mechanisms to get you through like an inspiration. If you're walking down the street and just go, I've got a great idea for a song, then by all means go. You know, that will happen. But there will be days where you go, well, I've joined this band and I've told them I can write songs, and like, I can't think of any ideas for songs, and I told them about two for the next rehearsal. What am I going to do? At that point, you go, what was it Ian said all those years ago? Oh yeah, I'll do that, and that'll, you know. And at any point, as we've demonstrated with at least, I know, 3 of you, as we've demonstrated, at any point in this process, inspiration can kick in. Jenny fabulously got in touch with me less than 12 hours after the first lesson and said, I've finished my song. And I was like, oh, well, okay. You know? So if you start doing this and the wheels start turning, you start getting ideas, then go off the road at that point. Don't be going, well, I've got to fill in this checklist before I do anything. And at some point, this gets you writing a song. Just go ahead and write a song. And you may be lucky and find you only have to do the first 2 things, and suddenly you've got a song coming. You may go, I need to go all the way to the end of planning it. But the idea here is that if you go all the way to the end of planning it, where you are now with your songs that you've got, whichever one you ended up with, you should be able to sit down and go, I can now just say, of course, the next hour, I'm going to write this, and I don't have to wait for inspiration. I don't have to wait for what's going to be. My scheme is, I know where it's set about, who the characters are, I know somewhere to the rhyme. All I have to do is get those things and I can just get them on the page.
So what you're saying is once you've created all this, we'll have words of wisdom and just let it be.
Absolutely. So that's $2. Don't forget $2 in the
Oh, I won't.
$2 more in the Beatles swear jar. Yeah. So is everyone feeling like they can go away and write a song?
So last week you said something about a kid during summer camp do like a song about like babies. Like that.
Oh yeah.
Did you happen to find the video?
Oh, I didn't, but I was. Don't let me forget. Yeah.
Is it at the performance?
Yeah.
Put me on our
It is on the Facebook. It is. Yeah. It was called Bernard Bean, and it was all about a baked bean who opened a pizza restaurant and got into a vicious turf war with his former best friend. There was also a baked bean who opened a hot dog stand next door or something. And we spent the whole week going, this is going to be terrible, this is going to be terrible. And I actually did say at one point, you have to perform this in front of people. You know, it's Wednesday. If you want to change your mind, now's the time to do it. And he doubled down and said, no, I'm doing the baked bean song. And it was brilliant.
Was he in the first class or the second class?
Second.
Second.
It was absolutely brilliant. And it was so brilliant that my wife sings it around the house and she's never heard it. She's only ever heard
Oh
me
my
sing it.
goodness.
Can you see it?
Well, I think we've got the video.
Yeah, well, I don't have the video right now. I'm just
We
looking
will,
at the
we
date.
will
It's either the
find it.
19th,
Yeah, we will
July
find it.
19th.
But yes, it was a really good lesson for me because, I mean, Amy, how did you feel about it? You like, this is never going to work?
Wow, I was forced.
Oh yes, you did backing vocals, didn't you?
I don't know. We were kind of like on the chairs there. And they were there. Background.
Yeah, but
Didn't really have faith in it. But when I heard like the music, then I kind of started making sense.
it did, didn't it?
Was it like a sad song?
No,
No.
no, it was
Not
like
at
a
all.
kind of late 70s new wave kind of upbeat thing. It was great.
No.
Yeah. No, so yes, from such unpromising beginnings as, I mean, I have no idea what I did. Yeah, it's a great song.
I'm gonna sign off in just a second so I can get this uploading. Do we have
Alright,
anything
no
else to
problem.
tell Reese before I end
I
this?
don't believe so, Reese. Are you happy? Nothing else you need?
Yeah, this is awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, cool. I'm gonna go ahead and end this so I can get it start to upload to my thing. You rock, Reese. We'll
Bye.
see you tomorrow.
So next week.
See ya.
Oh, did you? We'll let her listen.
Oh yeah, next week I would expect that you all come with, at least a workable lyric. Now it might not be completely final, and you might have some bits that you go, a bit of underline needs fixing, or that rhyme's not very good, or whatever. It doesn't have to be finished, but it needs to be at least, 70% on the way, something that we can then start setting up. You will have the rest of the year to fiddle with the lyrics. Probably we'll throw them into the pot and get everyone to show them that they've other people messages. Something like that. The show's not till January, so you can be fiddling with rhyme schemes or whatever all the way up to show, basically. But if we're going to be moving on to writing music, we at least need something. So I would anticipate that given what you've got, the resources you've got to find this, you should be able to come right. And of course, don't forget, you've been meant to be writing your own as well, so you should have other balls in play. For the purpose of this course, we went lyrics first because I don't want you all standing up there in January going la 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 to a microphone. In terms of real life, there's no right way of doing it.
I said your
Oh, my preference. I'm just so great. I will take a good idea. I'll take a good idea wherever it comes from. I mean, the Peter Gabriel method is write the drums first, and then he'll like produce the drum tracks.
It's like recording.
And then,
Yeah.
but with no song at all, and then you just start singing and playing along with the drum tracks and build it. So you can start with drums, which you could, write the drum beat first, and then add chords and melody, and the lyrics can come last. Lots of people will just produce a track and just sing any old nonsense with the hope that something will come out. Like, just get in front of the microphone and just start making noises. And then at some point, it'll sound like you said something. And you go, okay, that's my start, But that's a long way around of doing what we call get the seed. But no, there's no right way of doing it. Just seem more efficient. To start with lyrics that when you go out in the real world and start writing songs, then however.
All right. Bye. I'll see you soon.